Good morning. Today is Thursday, May 1st, and we are here for the Board Development Committee meeting. Welcome. Mr. Wilburn, will you please call the roll?
Sure. Representing Educational District 1, we have Ms. Katie Howard. Representing Educational District 2, we have Ms. Aretta Balden.
Present.
Representing Educational District 3, we have Dr. Ken Zeff.
Present.
Also joining us and present is representing Educational District at Large Seat 9, Ms. Jessica Johnson.
Present.
Madam Chair, you have a quorum.
Thank you, and I do want to acknowledge that Katie Howard is not officially on the committee, but she loves the work that we do so much that she comes and participates in our meetings. So welcome, everyone, and thank you for joining us. I will now entertain a motion to approve the agenda for May 1st, the May 1st, 2025 Board Development Committee meeting.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved by Board Member Zeff and seconded by Board Member Johnson. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposition?
Aye.
Excellent. Oh, that was for favor, right, Jessica?
Yes.
Okay. Motion carries. Let's see, what did I just do? Did I approve the agenda? Do we need to approve minutes? Do we have minutes to approve for the last meeting?
last meeting.
Okay, so may I, may I now have a motion to approve the minutes from the last board meeting?
So moved.
That would be March 27th. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor? Any opposition?
Aye.
I believe that was 4 in favor. I'm sorry, I'm moving too fast for you, Jessica, and the delay. Motion carries. So we have a few agenda items today. The first agenda item we will start with is the board self-evaluation. As y'all remember, we reviewed a couple of different documents in our last meeting and made the decision to do a compilation of the GSBA and pulling some of the self-eval information from school board partners. So what we have here is the final form. Jessica, I'm going to turn it over to you. Is there something that you want to share?
Sure. Just wanted general feedback, and I'm actually pulling up right now, so I'll let you guys give general feedback and follow up.
Okay, I believe Board Member Zeff has some feedback. Board Member Zeff.
Yeah, I appreciate this tool. What I would prefer, I really like the later sections where they ask board members to evaluate their contributions. Some of these questions I feel like are objective and more compliancy, and I think. Probably, does the Board of Education devote 40% of its meeting time to discuss agreed upon school and student goals and progress? That feels less like if we're trying to build a culture of contribution and collaboration. I love Section 5. How are we talking about relationships? How are we working with our communities? Are we meeting with our local schools? So some of these, I think there's a shorter or more focused version of this that would be good to, I guess, getting really clear about what our goals are for this would probably be helpful discussion.
So thank you for that feedback. I received that. I also I find value in the compliance part. Especially with board members having different levels of experience and exposure to what is compliant, and being transparent and open to, are we doing what it is that we're supposed to do in addition to the development work. And so I do see a space for it, but possibly, do we need all the questions? I can sit with that. Jessica? Or Katie?
It's a big reveal.
It's like magic.
You go. Do you want to? I mean, I can wait for Jessica.
Yeah, let her get settled. Do we have another folder?
You have one right there, Katie.
Oh, here, there's another one. Oh, gosh, never mind. We're all good. We're all good.
Thanks.
I'll just add that I think it is important that we include the evaluation piece on how much time we're spending talking about student data, student outcomes. And I've seen a change since we've included that, even though we haven't done this evaluation on the regular basis we should. I hear Ken's point on maybe, narrowing down some of these questions, but at the same time, making sure there's focus on that and compliance for us and for the community.
And these were pulled from the GSPA.
Yes, so I pulled from, and sorry guys, the GSBA because I know we wanted to be aligned with state standards, but also, as we're looking at some of the board award opportunities to kind of just measure where we are with state board standards. And then I also pulled from the survey that we did in 2023 that was more about just internal board management, and then board relationships and culture I think is also important for us to lean into, and then just gut checking ourselves on our leadership and management. So I tried to pull from the school board partners, Georgia school boards, and then the old survey that we had from 2023 and pick the most relevant questions. But this is definitely a whittling down to see, really more what do we need to discuss and what goals can we set going forward after we complete this survey.
So I appreciate that, and I do like that it's all. I like that they're all the same rating scale throughout. I think that'll be helpful so we can track this over time. I guess just getting really clear about what the goals are. Is it around our ways that we work together as a body? Is it around our knowledge of board policy? Is it around our focus on student achievement, like our focus on time? I think just getting clear about, because it does feel like there's a lot of good stuff in here, and so pieces like, are we spending enough time talking about student achievement? I think is a terrific point. I'm not sure if the survey is the right way, is the best way to elicit that versus somebody just reporting on that. Like, are we, or some of these pieces like, do we have a policy that does this? Do we have a policy to do that? Incredibly important. I'm just not sure survey is the best way, unless it's a question of, do you have knowledge, or do you think we need to spend more time on talking about, something that really gets to board member perceptions versus just a commentary on objective fact? Like, is there an ethics policy? Versus, do you feel like board members are subscribed, or do you feel like you have any ethical questions that are not addressed, or something like that?
So my initial feedback for that is yes, and, right? Is it how do we work together and how do we work better together? Yes. Is it, are we compliant? Yes. Is it about, are we doing what we said we were going to do in regards to student outcomes? Yes. Is it a tool for us to see where are we, and then identify goals of where we want to be? Where is the work that needs to be done? I feel like we do need to ask those questions, because if we come back and we find out that there is not alignment or agreement on some of these things, then there would be an opportunity for us to develop. So I don't necessarily look at it as like an employee survey in terms of feelings, but more so about the work. Are we doing the work? Are we doing it the way in which we agreed to do it? And can we do it better? And it should be consistent so we can look and track our growth. And similar, the way I see it, honestly, how we have goals for the district and the superintendent. I see this as a way for us to set goals for ourselves. And so the question, are we spending 40% of the time? Yes or no? If the answer is no, then to me, then it's a question, okay, so as a board and board development, we need to ask the question is, do we need to do things a little differently? Or is this what we want to do, right? So I'm kind of looking at this as a tool to do all of those things. I'm pie in the sky, right? You know, I'm gonna aim high.
Is this, oh, I'm sorry, Jessica.
Sorry, it's been over a year since our last assessment, and so I think maybe we can pare it down some, but these are kind of what I think critical points for us to lean into and reshape. And once we get to quarterly, maybe we can adjust as we see progress in some of these areas as well.
I think that makes sense, and I'm open to giving it a try. I mean, I think just some of the binary questions. Do we have a policy that you know is that feels like a question that doesn't lend itself well to survey, but I'm open to if you all want to see what you get. Is this, and I appreciate that this is work that we're or let me make sure I understand it. So this is Jessica, you grabbed this from GSBA. So do they have like norm scores, like, or because I think that is interesting too. Like, here's how do we report it, like, or is it?
Sorry, they don't have the norm scores, but they have the evidence you should have. Like, okay, is there an ethics policy? Is there so? And I took the evidence out and just said these are the questions we want to gut check ourselves on.
So let me just add a little bit of context as a reminder. So there's the GSBA evaluation, and then there's also the GSBA grid that they have for excellent boards, if you will, right? And so when you're applying for awards, there are certain things that you have to have done or do. And so it is the desire of our board chair to be competitive in that space. And so we looked at that as well to get us aligned. And I think if it's something where it's just a check off, then yeah, we could probably remove that. I was also thinking, I'm not sure, we don't have counsel here today, but in terms of once we get it to a space that we like, do we share it with the board, quick review, and then do the evaluation? Like, do we need their buy-in, or do we just say, here's the tool and do the evaluation? That's kind of the question I have in terms of next steps.
I was hoping we would do the work and clear it up and then share it with the board and ask for it to be returned by a specific time. I was pushing for it to happen by the retreat so we could discuss it during the retreat, but we're probably not within the window. I don't know if that's within the window of possibility.
Okay. But we do need to, after we have done it, we do need to talk about it as a board.
Yeah, and I would even, I think actually even the analysis of the themes, I think, are important because, so for example, like some of these things move together. So if you talk about the board refrains from attempting to manage the school district or its administration, I think that would be interesting with, where is it? I thought there was another question here. And, well, in any case, I think where, because what's interesting is not just the score, but the standard deviation. Mm-hmm. You know, like if there's unanimity that, like confidentiality, for example, if that gets a low score across the board, that's one data point versus if the scores are all over the place, then yes. Then it gets to the question of maybe people don't understand what the standard is for confidentiality versus. If everyone thinks it's a low score, okay, what do we need to do to hold each other accountable? So it might require a different intervention based on what the data looks like. So I think having that data before we went into the retreat, I think could be.
Perfect. And to your point, I tried to organize it. What are the state standards? How are we currently managing? And how do we view ourselves so that we get those three buckets? I cut as much as I could, but I was like, I think those three ways of viewing it will be important.
So I do think that, seeing that the retreat is Tuesday,
Oh, wow.
that it's probably going to be hard to do that. But I mean, if we want to set a base, I mean, we can do it and get feedback. It's kind of like a sample trial, right? Like, this is what we developed, let's do it, and then it doesn't necessarily have to be the end tool. If we find that after folks have done it and we get feedback that there's some changes, we could possibly do that.
I mean, it's 25 items, multiple choice. All the answers are right here on the test. So,
Yeah, the only thing would be, I'm looking over at Michael, so he's going to have to average and then and then show us the deviations. But this is an Excel chart. I think we might be able to do it basically. If we do it, have it sent back to Michael. Michael can put it in an Excel chart
or if
for
you
us.
load into SurveyMonkey, or I don't know if there's a tool that we use that.
And so ideally, we would get it back before we talk about it, right? So you have a time to digest it. So is it realistic that this could go out on Friday and we do it Monday? I mean, have it back on Monday? But then we won't have we'll have the results literally that day.
I mean, it's aspirational.
And we also, do we even have time on the agenda for the retreat to?
We have a, do we have
To-
a, and we
to
have a
add
board meeting
this.
on Monday too. So it's not
Right,
like
you're going to be here in the mindset already. So I'm just putting all that out there, not trying to make it impossible, but just throwing out the reality of where we are. This is a useful conversation. It is a conversation that we need to have. The next time that we're going to be together as a board wouldn't be officially until the June board meeting.
What else is on the agenda for the retreat?
I mean, goals and guardrails is pretty hefty.
How much time do we have for that retreat?
I don't think we've seen an agenda yet.
Who owns that? Who's pulling that?
Yeah.
When is that?
That's 3 to 7.
Oh, that. So he has the agenda. Dr. Johnson has the agenda for that. Okay. So would there even be time to do this then?
That was what I was saying.
Got
Is
it.
we haven't
Right. It seems like we got a lot coming up in the next.
I do want us to this needs to be done before it. I would like for us to do it and be able to talk about it by the June meeting. Sure. So I was just going to say, okay. Okay. And so what we could do then, do we want to get some initial feedback since we have a little bit of time? Or just,
Sure. So if you guys can provide feedback on which questions we don't need, I'll take it back and shoot it over to Michael with the final version. And then if we can send it out and get the results back before the June meeting, maybe we can ask for time during executive session to have that conversation during the June meeting.
and we'll check with Nina in terms of if this is a public or executive session conversation.
Okay.
I might suggest if we can number the questions, it would be easier just to refer to them. So for example, like, and I don't know if this is the right form to do this, under Standard 1, Question 2, recognize the operational issues are the responsibility of the superintendent and the staff. And then if you go to the third page, the fourth question down, the board refrains from attempting to manage the school district or its administration. It feels like they're kind of asking the same question, or at least if there's a shade of nuance there, I'm not seeing it. And part of that is I think these are two different instruments, right? So there's a little bit of
Okay, so what we'll do is take the time to read for redundancy. Yeah. Send recommendations to Jessica for cuts.
so you want us to do this offline? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't, there's a lot of words on the
Yep,
page to rush through it now. I'd rather us take the time to do it and send it to you. I mean, that might be your ministry, but it's not mine. It's gonna take me a little longer. All right, excellent, thank you. So, next item that we have up for discussion is financial protocols. So, I have a quick question before we get into this, Jessica. Is this a combination of policies and protocols that already exist that you're putting together in one place? Or are there new ideas and suggestions that are being brought forth in this document?
There are new ideas and suggestions being brought forth, just so we can have some consensus amongst the board around best practices in regards to our financial management.
Okay, thank you. So I do know that what we'll want to do initially before we make any recommendations to policy is also have legal just look to see where there might be conflicts with existing policies. I believe the authorization approval, that $10,000 number is would be higher than what is traditional for the district, and so understanding where there may be conflict.
Can I speak to that one?
Yes,
So I
please.
think what I was thinking initially is after we approve the budget, so anything that is like the student awards, those would already be, the board would have approved it. I think maybe the wording needs to change around items outside of approved budget spend that are above $10,000, the board should be aware of and have, have approval of contract and invoice.
Is this just for board items, or this is for the district-wide?
This is for board office only, just board office.
And actually, I jumped into this conversation without any proper introduction. So Jessica, why don't you talk about the purpose of this? Why are we talking about this today? I just went straight to business. Okay, I'll read it. So the purpose of this document is to provide an overview of the internal control policies followed by the Atlanta Board of Education. These policies govern accounting, financial reporting, purchasing, and contract management to ensure financial responsibility and operational efficiency. So I believe what this is really about is just alignment and transparency with the board budget.
It is, and I know that there is a bigger need for us to build out a board governance manual that would be used as a guide, especially as we, have new board members coming in, so we can all be aligned with what the best practices are. And so I thought the most critical part would be to start with the financial pieces, and then we can continue to build other sections of the board governance manual as a whole through this committee and set some timelines around that.
So the good news is that manual exists. We built it my first term on board development. And it is aligned with the strategic plan. So it was built after the strategic plan because there's a lot of pieces of that in there. There are obviously a lot of things that are no longer accurate because things have changed, people have changed. And so, yes, it is definitely time to update. But the good news is we won't be starting from scratch. But there's definitely room for additions, deletions, and improvement. So this is really kind of the first time that this has been brought to us. So really what I want us to do is to take a look. If there are any discussion items to have today, let's have some discussion items. Bring it back up next month, and then when we're ready to recommend it to policy, if that's where we are. So initial.
Yeah, so I love making the implicit explicit. So I like the clarity. What problem are we solving for here? What are we worried about that this policy can stay at?
So I will say, I think there might be some concern around like invoicing external vendors, those kinds of things. Transparency, being aligned with best practices with the district as a whole. And so like we lead from the front, and I think that we need to be clear around external vendors, contracts, other spending outside of the approved budget for ourselves, and hold ourselves more accountable, and also be in a position for potential audit for board office finances as well, so that we just are aligned and leading by example in that space.
I would love to add some of that language to this document, like is leading by example, transparency, clarity. I think that helps get me in the headspace of what we're trying to do here. I also, and I haven't read the policy in detail. I do want my only sort of flashing yellow light is I don't want to create an administrative burden and slow the work down. So if something's already part of the approved budget, I just want to make sure we create speed bumps where we need to create speed bumps and not speed bumps across the board.
That was also a concern that was mentioned by Nina, that if our general counsel, so if there is a situation that would require full board approval, what does that look like? Does it look like a special called meeting? Or
Or
are
is
there
it
exceptions
at the
that we
next
need to
meeting
add? Correct.
and it's just announced that this happened within 30 days or
Because we
or
definitely,
electronically,
yes.
Because I don't want to slow business down. It's hard to get the body together.
Right.
So I don't want to slow.
We don't want to create a new problem by solving for those.
That's why I think having that purpose up front, so
Mm-hmm.
we can ask ourselves, okay, is this, we want to be efficient, but we need transparency here. So I think that would be helpful.
Excellent feedback. Katie, I know this is the first time you're seeing this, so
But Jessica and I have talked about it, and I'm glad she brought this forward through this committee. I think it's a perfect place to start. And I have talked with her, like I said, about this document overall and just having that process in writing, for us as a board to be aware of as well. And with the budget development process, I agree with all this, and going back to making sure, we have the transparency, we have the process spelled out, but we're not nitpicking little things, obviously. So I don't know if we need to provide any clarification around amendments. I mean, I think the competitive bidding process, I appreciate how that's spelled out, by categories. Obviously, larger amounts would be something that need to come back and go through more review. And knowing that the board provides input, but, going back to this process, it's based on our priorities. So it's not individual. I don't want, this to make people think too that individual board members are picking this, and this, and it's this huge cumbersome process, but it's based on our priorities. And there is input, but it doesn't mean that, individual board members are spelling out the entire budget. That's why we have Michael. But the process is clear for folks and the public, and it holds us accountable. So I really appreciate Jessica bringing it forward and this committee working on it.
excellent. So what I will ask is that we each spend a little bit more time, and hopefully you too, Katie, since you're our unofficial member, looking through this, and then to send any suggestions to Jessica as well. So I do know that in June, audit should be meeting. I just spoke with Connie, so they will be ready for a meeting in June. And so that means that both of my committees need to meet in June, and they both can't meet at 10 o'clock. So I'm going to be reaching out to you to see what flexibility you may have. I want to keep audit at 10 because the superintendent is expecting that. And we can use a little bit more flexibility with us. But I do want us to prioritize the self-evaluation, because we want to actually get that going and done by the June meeting. Okay. All right, any other things to discuss in the financial protocols item? Okay, moving on to training hours. We are in a great place. We've got a couple of board members that need just a little of assistance getting over the finish line. And so I've spoken with Nina, and we are going to provide some online opportunities for training. I'm also going to reach out to them and ask them about areas of interest, so we can send those things their way. We are aiming for having this completed by June 30th. Again, that is the deadline for completion for the award for next year for the governance. So we're aiming to get that done by June 30th. So we've got a new board member that still has some hours, and then one other board member that needs some. Okay? And then moving on, you all have the travel expense, board travel. You have the updated chart for your review. Any questions or concerns? So what I would like to do next year, once the budget has been set, is add an additional column to this that tracks how our spending is in comparison to what we allocated. I think that would be a good addition to have. So we're not just tracking spending, we're tracking how we're spending
Yeah,
compared to our
this
budget.
feels like connected to the financial policy, wherever it went. So how does, just maybe just think for a second, how would this, or maybe it's a question for Jessica, how would this policy govern travel?
So we have, what is our current travel budget for per member?
It's like 30-something, 3,100?
3,100.
Something like
And
that.
so I think traditionally people have just kind of individually gone, and if they have already hit that limit and gotten travel approved for additional 1,000, 2,000.
Who approves that, I guess?
That's
To me,
a
the
good question.
policy-
Right now, the policy is it's the board chair's discretion.
So picking up on that, I like, so so let's say it's $3,000, whatever the number is. I like your suggestion, Loretta, of, so anything up to that approved amount lives
Right.
within this document.
Correct.
We're just reporting it. No one needs to,
Correct.
and maybe there's a different number for the board chair or board vice chair, because if they're representing the
Yes,
district. So-
Correct.
if you represent, then
Yeah, for sure.
that's included.
And so that should be, I think, the more that we can get things budgeted appropriately,
Yes.
then there'll be less incidents where things require additional layers
Right.
Correct.
of conversation. So then what happens, and maybe this is something your financial policy would envision, so what happens if there's an opportunity that is travel that it may be aligned with the district's values? How does that, what would that, so right now that goes to the board chair to approve?
Correct, and I think what I would recommend is that we have a formal process or a document, like if you're going to have additional travel, some kind of justification for above and beyond budgeting and how it aligns with our strategic goals or student outcomes work that we're looking to do.
I think transparency would be whatever,
Yeah.
so, and that may be something the board may want to look at as a body, so everybody understands what the rules of the road are.
And right now, there is a document.
Okay, then maybe just sharing that.
There might be gray area within the document, and this is designed to make it just a little bit more black and white.
I like the idea that if it's within the threshold already set, then it's just got to pass some sort of reasonable test, but you don't need you have to defend it to your community that's why this trip happened. Going to GSBA in Savannah, that's part of this. But then if there's something extraordinary, that there's a process for that.
And in the season where the district is also kind of restricting travel, again, this is another opportunity for us to lead by example and being mindful of our travel expenses.
Excellent. So I am excited, y'all, that we may be like official after Monday. We are on the agenda. We being the policy to make the Board Development Committee official. Final read is on Monday, so excited about that. Let's see, so many papers. Let me check my agenda. Did we run through everything? I think we've run through everything. Is there any other business?
Is there public comment?
Look at all the people back there lined up. What do you mean is there public comment? They can't all fit in the room. Y'all simmer down now. Simmer down. We're coming to you. Of course, you had to show the room, huh? Michael, is there public comment? Okay, so all jokes aside, no public comment. Y'all are missing out, right? You're missing out. This is the best meeting to come to, that and audit and budget. Okay, well, I'm going to get you out of here early and on time for your meeting. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. We're adjourned.